Not only is the Hunter Biden story not going away, the more we know, the more it looks like Joe hasn't really leveled with us about what he knew and when he knew it. And the more we know, the more it looks like Joe himself, also known as the big guy in the emails, might have personally, financially benefited from his son's deals. Question: who is Tony Bobulinski? This is from Newsweek. Tony Bobulinski, the former business partner of Hunter Biden, is expected to participate in an informal interview before a Senate panel on Friday to discuss allegations that the Biden family accepted money from foreign entities, including China and Ukraine. And then it talks about documentation mentioned in a New York Post article. That documentation implied that Hunter Biden accepted payment for introducing a Ukrainian business executive to Joe Biden while Joe Biden served as vice president. How the plot thickens. This is audio from another Biden associate who says that Tony Bobulinski could sink us all.
The Biden family knew that you're going public with this. And you spoke to Rob Walker about it. Again, the self-described Biden family representative, and Biden family, meaning Joe Biden as well. What was his response when you let him know that you were going public with this?
Trying to coach me, trying to sort of say, hey, we don't want to do that. We don't want, press trucks out in front of our house. I'm going to have to move. I could lose my job. And all that, I'm not trying to cause any harm to anyone in this situation,
right,
let alone Rob Walker and his family, James Gilliar and his family. But basically, Rob's position was, if you go on record with all these facts, you'll bury all of us.
If he doesn't come out on record, I am providing the facts.
Tony, you're just going to just bury all of us, man.
What was your response to that?
I was focused on pushing these guys to do the right thing, to demonstrate an ounce of integrity in front of the American people. They all know the facts. I live the facts. And luckily for the American people, all the facts are extremely well documented. I'm irrelevant in this discussion, so I can ride off, but the American people can read these texts, listen to the recording that you just played, read the legal documents that were executed in Delaware, and they can form their own conclusion. They don't need me to form the conclusion for them.
Now, why is Mr. Bobulinski going public? Why is he talking? This is from Just the News. Bobulinski was motivated to come forward after Adam Schiff denounced recently leaked emails involving Hunter Biden as Russian disinformation. That allegation, according to Bobulinski, smeared his own family's name. I was at the end of the rope. I called a Biden associate and I told him if that statement wasn't retracted by midnight Sunday, I was going on the record. This isn't a political focus of mine. People are accusing my family of treason after I served this country and defended this country. He went on to say the American public should be demanding that this should be investigated. There absolutely should be no scenario that this isn't investigated, end of quote. So what does Mr. Bobulinski have to say?
Joe Biden and the Biden family are compromised. Obviously, I've referenced that I held a Q clearance. You're briefed on compromise and who you're able to talk with and deal and do business with. And I just don't see, given the history here and the facts, how Joe can't be influenced in some manner based on the history that they have here with CFC and stuff like that.
How compromised?
To them, it was always the Biden family. It wasn't Hunter Biden. It wasn't Jim Biden. It was the Biden family, who's obviously led and operated by Joe Biden. And in a document that you guys have, and I think it's been provided to to the world, the Chinese reference that because of their trust in the Biden family, that Chairman Yi and Director Zhang are excited about moving forward in this. And in that document, they reference loaning $5 million to the BD family.
Right.
The BD family is the Biden family. And notice they didn't say we're loaning that money to Oneida Holdings, or we're loaning that money to Tony Bobulinski, or we're loaning that money to James Gilliar or Rob Walker. They, once again, not a document generated by me, a document generated by CFC, that they're loaning that money to the Biden family.
And no doubt this is due to Hunter Biden's expertise in oil and gas and his fluency in the languages of Ukraine and Russia, right?
So I just want you to assess once more, is there anything about Hunter Biden's personal experience, personal qualifications that would justify him doing a deal in Kazakhstan?
Absolutely nothing. The only thing that he had was the Biden family name and the fact that his father at one point obviously was a sitting vice president and potentially would run as a future president.
Did Mr. Bobulinski ever meet Joe Biden?
Of course, I didn't request to meet with Joe. They requested that I meet with Joe. And, he's putting his, and Hunter says this in writing, it was referenced multiple times, they were putting their entire family legacy on the line. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were dealing with a Chinese-owned, enterprise run by Chairman Yi, CFC, that had strong financial support and political support from the Chinese Communist Party. That's how it was presented to me. That's not my own words. That's how they presented it to me and read me in on it. And
they being Gillier and Hunter Biden?
They being Hunter Biden, who was very proud of that and taking credit for it when I sat with him for 2 hours on the patio of the Chateau Marmont in L.A.
Adam Schiff, as you know, is calling this Russian disinformation.
I held a top secret clearance from the NSA and the DOE. I served this country for 4 years in one of the most elite environments in the world, Naval Nuclear Power Training Command. And to have a congressman out there speaking about Russian disinformation, or Joe Biden at a public debate referencing Russian disinformation when he knows he sat face to face with me, that I was traveled around the world with his son and his brother, to say that and associate that with my name is absolutely disgusting to me.
And of course, Joe Biden denies all.
He said that out loud?
Yes, he said it directly to me, one-on-one in a cabana at the Peninsula Hotel after about a hour and a half, 2 hour meeting, with me asking out of concern, how are you guys doing this? Aren't you concerned that you're going to put your brother's, future presidential campaign at risk? The Chinese, the stuff that you guys have been doing already in 2015 and 2016 around the world. And I just can almost picture his face where he sort of chuckles and says, plausible deniability.
So,
but Joe says he didn't know.
Yeah, that's a blatant lie. When he states that, that is a blatant lie. Obviously, the world's aware that I attended the debate last Thursday, and in that debate, he made a specific statement around questions around this from the president. And I'll be honest with you, I almost stood up and screamed liar and walked out because I was shocked that after 4 days or 5 days that they prepped for this, that the Biden family is taking that position to the world. And once again, I'm irrelevant in this discussion. I just was brought in to run this company and have been exposed to all of this fact. And I believe the American people should see this fact. I would have much preferred the Biden family go on record and define these facts for the American people on the globe versus me sitting here having a discussion with you on it.
Bottom line.
Well, I agree with you. The mainstream media should be absolutely ashamed of itself for covering this up, for ignoring the story, for doing nothing with a treasure trove of evidence, documents, text messages, and emails. Bobulinski tonight absolutely destroyed the credibility of Joe Biden and exposed him as a prodigious liar. And yet the media is blocking for him as Biden tries to limp to the goal line. For me, and I agree with Kimberly, the smoking gun here tonight was not just Bobulinski himself, but the tape recording of Joe Biden advisor trying to talk him out of going on the record and telling the truth. You're going to bury us, man. That one line for me demonstrated Joe Biden's intimate involvement. So I wrote down the variety of crimes that I think the federal government, the FBI, the Department of Justice should be looking at. They must investigate money laundering, tax evasion, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, FARA violations, SEC violations, fraud, conspiracy to defraud the government, and, in fact, a RICO investigation for racketeering, running what is essentially what looks like a criminal enterprise here. And Joe Biden's exposure, if he enabled this, if he facilitated it, that's aiding and abetting his grifter son, and that is making him an accomplice if the evidence is there. And we've only seen the tip of the iceberg.
Now you know why Joe stays in his basement. He comes out, he may get hit with a question or two by a reporter who actually does some, reporting.
Okay, Mr. Biden, if I can.
Sure.
Questions of controversy continue today about Hunter Biden, your son's.
There is no controversy about my son. It's all a lie. It's a flat lie because the president has nothing else to run on. If you notice, while American people are talking about what's happening to their families, he has no plan. In the debate, he has no plan. Everything from the Wall Street Journal over every other major news outlet has said what he's saying is simply not true about my son. But it's classic Trump. And because he doesn't want to talk about how manufacturing has gone into recession, how our economy's in a hole, how we're approaching a bleak winter. It's estimated 200,000 more people will die of COVID if we don't act more rapidly in terms of dealing with rational basis of social distancing, wearing masks, etc. And what's he do? He's going around the country holding these great spreaders of more virus. I mean, so he has nothing to say. Think about it. What is his plan for the next 4 years except more of the same? Failure.
And big tech wanted nothing to do with this story. The New York Post story was censored by Twitter, by Facebook, and by Google. And they all admitted it. Unfortunately for this host who tried to defend why the media was not interested in this story, he was going up against formidable Republican Senator Tom Cotton. Can you say hypocrisy?
Senator, I wanted to make 2 points. One is that the media industry, at least the media industry that I know, has been trying to investigate this and has not been able to corroborate the story. I would also note the Wall Street Journal, which is owned by News Corporation, which also owns the New York Post, has not been able to corroborate the story and said so quite directly in the Wall Street Journal today. In the news pages of the Wall Street Journal. So just to clarify, it is not that the news organizations are not looking into this, it's that they haven't been able to corroborate the story, and a responsible news organization wouldn't therefore report it. Now, the next piece of this is you're talking about the tech companies censoring such quote-unquote news. If, in fact, the tech companies had quote-unquote liability like news operations do, you wouldn't want them to be reporting something that they couldn't corroborate, no?
Do you mean like the Russian collusion hoax and the Steele dossier that you reported on for 4 years, Andrew?
Well, look, I think it's fair to say that when you're reporting this news, there were clearly investigators that were investigating this, and the news organizations were reporting about those investigations. In this case, those investigations don't even exist, so there's nothing to report on in that regard yet. Now, it very well may be that there should be reports in the future about reports of investigations, but on the merits right this moment, it doesn't seem to be something that people are able to corroborate, for better or worse.
Andrew, you and outlets like CNN and the New York Times obsessively reported about the Steele dossier, which was an obvious fabrication. There's a clear double standard here being applied to Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. When's Joe Biden going to come out and have a press conference and answer the question, is he the big guy? And was Hunter holding 10 for him? The Wall Street Journal didn't disprove that allegation. All he has to do is come out and answer these questions. Donald Trump did it 4 years ago. He's done it repeatedly. Where's Joe Biden?
Can I just follow up on the tech issue?
Oh, and President you-know-who had a thing or two to say about all of this.
And unlike Biden, who's made a fortune in politics, what a fortune. The press is not allowed to write about that, though. But Biden made a fortune. You know what? This has cost me billions of dollars. And, you know, I could not be happier because we have done things that nobody else could have done in the first 3.5 years.
Show me the money.
The only question is whether the Hunter Biden story will have an impact. After all, some 50 million Americans have already voted. The election is only days away. We're going to find out. I'm Larry Elder, and we've got a country to save. I will see you next time.